He then tried to gaslight, blame shift, bargain, and beg in that order. But we already trained ourselves for that crap. Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, I'm going to go over a story titled Armageddon Story Number 2. And guys, this story is a spinoff, a second spinoff of the very popular video series I did at the very end of August, early September, about the Special Forces squad that went full Armageddon on their wives when they found out all of their wives were cheating. And for those of you, I know a lot of you guys saw that story, the whole series, you guys loved it. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, I did the first spinoff of that. That was a very popular video. And here we go again with another guy, a part of the squad, who's going to share his take on what happened with his own personal situation with his wife. Because if you guys all recall, it all started because these guys are a Special Forces squad, and they're always deployed. And the guy found out one day, the leader, he overheard his wife and other wives talking at a party about their affairs and all that. And when the guys calmed down, they all formed a plan how to, each and every one of them, essentially take them all out. Not just them, but also their affair partners and all that. And it was an amazing story, definitely one I'll never forget. And I've actually been in communication, I was in communication with the guy who wrote that thing because he saw these videos. I haven't heard from him in a while, so I hope he's doing well. But anyhow, I was informed that another dude put up a story. This is what we have here. So it's definitely an interesting one here. So, jumping into it, he says, hi everyone. Since 2 of my teammates wrote their stories, I will too. It took a long time writing this because I have been quite busy for some time now, and well, I'm not really motivated to do so, but I will do as well. For convenience sake, I will code my teammates' names. This is the code. TM1, the OP of the original story. So that's the guy that authored the 6 or 7 part series I covered last month. TM2, writer of Armageddon Story Number 1. That's the previous one. And me, TM3. To be honest, there isn't much left to be said that TM1 hasn't already expressed in his posts, so I will just tell you all about my experience on the A-Day. You know, he's saying A-Day, but I'm assuming he means D-Day when this all went down, so I'm just going to say D-Day to make it easy. To be honest, I read that part. My ex had 5 affairs in the duration of 4 years. 5 affairs. I discovered this because she still had pictures of these with other dudes in a hidden folder on a portable hard drive that she keeps. She always kept that drive either at her workplace or with her personal stuff, and I honestly didn't know about that for a long time. It's like these, I can't say the word, but those types out there that off a lot of people and they keep trophies. That's what this sounds like. She's actually keeping proof of pictures and texts and all that with all her lovers as a trophy. I mean, how screwed up is that, and how stupid is that? Because this could be found out. But you know darn well she's keeping this for bragging rights to send to all her girlfriends. When I finally discovered the hard drive, she just told me it was for her work data, so I didn't really pay much mind to it. Anyway, she kept these pictures and even some screenshots of her texts as some sort of sick trophy. Anyway, her early affairs were short-lived. I guess she got bored with them fast, but her last affair partner was with her boss, was for the longest 2 to 3 years. Surprise, surprise, the carousel rider was getting bored and had to move on to the next guy. And I'm willing to bet you part of it was, well, I got to show the other girls up that are cheating on their husbands, so I got to get a new guy and always have higher numbers than them. And now she's doing her boss. Her boss is a slimy piece of crap who works in his father-in-law's, now ex-father-in-law's company. His ex-fiancée also works at the company, is at a parallel position to him in a different department and different branch of the same company in the same city. So, the dude this guy's wife was hooking up with was her boss. He works for his father-in-law's company. Talk about a stereotype there. And the dude's fiancée works there too. Talk about stupid, don't shit where you eat. She is a cool lady, meaning this guy, the guy that his wife's cheating with, fiance. Smart, beautiful, capable, and for what I could tell, extremely loyal. During my investigation, I got a ton of data on the piece of crap and my ex, so about a week before D-Day, I decided to meet with the piece of crap's ex-fiancée and inform her of all about this affair. I called her first and asked to meet with her in her office. She obliged, and she was already suspecting that something's up with piece of crap due to his shady behavior, but never had any solid evidence. See, she could tell something was up, but just couldn't quite prove it. These dumbasses, after a while, first these people are very slick in the way they cover things up, but after a while they're so confident they can get away with it, they stop covering their tracks. That's usually how it works. She was truly heartbroken. She was crying and was about to immediately call the piece of crap to confront him, but I told her not to. I convinced her to gather all the evidence she could and then she could nuke him. She agreed. She then called her father and asked him to meet us in her office. He came a few hours later after seeing all the evidence that I had and was also extremely pissed off and immediately wanted to fire him, but we all convinced him otherwise. If sufficient evidence can be gathered against him, he won't have to get any severance and will likely get blacklisted. That's a better idea to keep your cool. I'm kind of amazed the father-in-law was able to keep calm. I then gave Piece of Crap's ex-fiancé spyware, or his cell and laptop, which she agreed to install. The evidence we got from that was even more damning than I previously thought. It's pretty cool in these stories when these guys get people to work with them to strike hard and take these a-holes out. It was similar in the other story I covered about the other team member who found out that the dude that was hooking up with his wife didn't even know she was married, and that guy helped him out. On the D-Day, I made sure my ex would get home by 6 p.m., so I disconnected her from my cell plan and disconnected the Wi-Fi. I then went to the ex-in-laws at 6 p.m. I met with them and told them everything. I told them about the affairs, the duration, and all the evidence that my ex-mother-in-law, but my ex-mother-in-law tried very hard to make excuses and told me it was a mistake and her daughter was stupid to do such a thing and asked me to give her a second chance. How many times is the girl's mothers that stand up for them and ask the guy, or sometimes demand the guy give him a second chance? And then the fathers are usually apologizing for their daughter's actions here. How many guys have heard this in these stories I covered? Probably because mother-in-law or mommy dearest probably has a history herself. I told him that my mind was made up and there was no second chances for betrayal. Amen, brother. She even tried accusing me that I must have been cheating while I was deployed, and I just looked at her and said I have more important things to do when I was deployed, and don't assume everyone to think that they think like you do. His writing is a little off here. So she immediately then accuses him of cheating when he's deployed. Guess what? When he's deployed, he's trying not to get shot and trying to come back alive to his family, who he thought he had a good family. But of course, twisted around, you know, mother-in-law has a dirty history. You can tell. I told her now I get it, where my ex got her disgusting habits from. She clammed up tight after that. I left a box of evidence and then I went home. Good for this guy. I arrived at 8:30 and my ex asked about her phone being disconnected as well as internet connections in the home. I just calmly ignored her, giving her short answers. I set up a camera in the living room as well as a voice recorder, and my ex kept following me around asking what I was up to. At exactly 9 p.m., I told my ex to sit down. I went cold and completely expressionless. I was like I was some kind of computer-generated voice devoid of all tones. Then I told her about this conversation is being recorded. I said I know everything about her infidelity, her lies, and her piece of crap, and I have evidence here, and we are getting a divorce. Can you imagine being the fly on the wall in that conversation? When I said all that, my ex just froze up. She was stunned. She couldn't understand what was happening. What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about. For at least 3 to 4 minutes, she just looked at me wide-eyed and stunned. I simply put all the evidence in front of her, as well as the divorce papers, which I signed in front of her, and then took a glass of water. After a while, she started looking at the evidence and started trying to explain as a misunderstanding. He has all this evidence, and yet still it's a misunderstanding. How is 5 affairs a misunderstanding? It's like a little kid being caught. You know, little kids being caught doing something stupid they're not supposed to, and they immediately make up all this BS. It's one thing if it's a little kid doing it, but a grown-ass adult. But yes, I do compare grown-ass women to small children because they behave like that sometimes. I told her I'm not an idiot and stop and just sign the papers and not make this any more difficult than it has to be. I told her I prefer to keep things amicable and calm, but if she tries any BS, I will destroy any hope of her ever having a normal, peaceful life again. Again, she knew this was a serious warning. She then tried to gaslight, blame shift, bargain, and beg in that order. Shocker. But we already trained ourselves for that crap. I shut her up and told her she has 2 hours to pack her stuff and leave for her parents. Now, I essentially left no room for BS and excuses. I recorded everything she did around the house and had a buddy on standby just outside the door with the key, ready to barge in on a moment's notice. I took her key, and she kept crying hysterically as she packed her shit and left in the car. That must have been both satisfying for him to see and also heartbreaking because, let's be honest, these guys are human, and these are obviously women that they loved, but had to see this whole thing go down. That was the last time I ever communicated directly with her. She has tried a lot of drama through my lawyer, calling for counseling, offering everything, even tried to give me her money. I think she's trying to bribe me, but I didn't respond to anything. Good. You have no need to contact her and speak with her, communicate with her any further. Have all communication through the attorney. She has since been fired, and our divorce is now in the final stage of the mandatory waiting period. Her parents are well off, and she is their only child, so I don't think that's a problem for her. Now we're getting somewhere. The parents are well off, so they're obviously upper middle class or higher, and she's an only child. Translation, spoiled only child. I've known a number of people throughout my life that were only children, and interestingly enough, they were very self-centered, very spoiled assholes. Not that everybody as an only child is going to be that way, but I've noticed quite common with the only children, especially as they come from upper middle class or upper class families, and the family's got a lot of money. And notice the family obviously is well off. Probably mom married that girl's dad for his money, and so she's defending the daughter because she probably did the same thing. As the saying goes, the acorn or the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. The thing is, she won't stop trying to contact me. She won't stop trying to send me letters through my lawyer and leaving them at my door, trying to call me with new phone numbers and even involving her friends, even though most of them are disconnecting from her and distancing themselves. She must have left 148 letters at this point, but I just put them away without reading them with the gathered evidence. 148 letters. He's very specific there. That's a lot of freaking letters. For some people, the final meeting, telling them forgiveness, knowing the whole thing and closure stuff is important, but to me, I don't really care about any of that stuff. I know she cheated and betrayed me. That is enough. I don't need any explanation and any excuses. I don't need to know the details. I don't care if it was once or 1,000 times, the result will be the same. A complete removal of this relationship and her from my life. Exactly. What the hell is there to discuss? You know, why she did it, who cares? She did what she did, let this guy move on. I learned recently that she isn't doing very well with her parents, and they have completely stopped talking with her. She just lives in a room. At their place and is forbidden from doing anything else at their place. Probably because her parents' reputation has suffered because of her. Yeah, I was thinking that. I was thinking because people especially if they're more the upper class, their reputation's a big deal to them. They want the gossip going on about them. And I was thinking that's probably part of the reason why the mom was trying to convince him to change his mind, aside from probably her doing the same thing. As for her affair partner, listen to this. His ex-fiancée contacted me and told me she essentially had her own version of D-Day on the same date with her father present. He was summarily fired, kicked out of her house, and got served with a lawsuit from me and her father's company because of his crap. He had a lot of skeletons in his closet. Yeah, these guys all in this squad, if you all recall, I guess they live in a state where this can be done. They were suing all these guys for ruining their marriages and the affairs. Not in the other story where the guy honestly had no idea that guy's wife was married, but the ones that knew, these guys are going full. These guys are like the A-team for their attack on these gals, and they're nuking them. He's not doing so well these days. Yeah, I bet. And finally, as for me, while I had a lot of painful times pre and post D-Day, the whole package of suffering, depression, considering ending it all, emotional roller coaster, exploding rage, and crippling sadness. But now I'm doing fine. I know it will take me years to fully heal, but I will heal. As long as I have my brothers and family, I will heal. Yes, you will, bro. I don't think he's ever going to see this, but if he does, you will heal. It's going to take a long freaking time. I don't think there's a guy on here watching this that hasn't been cheated on once. It's happened to me, and I know what it feels like. Not to someone like a wife that you've been married to for years, but it's happened with a girlfriend in my past, a couple times actually, and I know what it feels like. It's awful because you never see it coming. You think you have a great thing going, and let me tell you, that feeling, which many of you guys have experienced, I'd rather be punched in the stomach by Mike Tyson in his prime than go through that heartache, you know. But you will heal. You know, take it day by day, hour by hour, hang out with your bros, hang out with your family, focus on turning things around, you will. And learn a lesson about today's women and pay attention to the red flags and, quite frankly, don't ever get married again. We have been overseas these few weeks, but we just got back. Currently moving to Texas and loving the new experiences. TM1, the original poster to the stories, even got a new stalker who just won't leave him alone. It's this crazed woman from his previous post, but I'm sure she will stop soon enough because we ain't the kind of guys you want to stalk. If you do, you better start getting attention and visits from some very scary people. I do recall the guy, his last post, he met some crazy chick in a bar. It's probably her. For everyone going through all this, my advice is to keep your head high and understand the betrayal of your cheating spouse isn't your fault. It never is, not in any circumstance. It's always their own fault. It's the result of their own moral failing and that causes this. No matter what their excuses they tell themselves, it's always because of their own weakness that they cheat. Exactly. It's not this dude's fault or anybody else that this happens to. If someone is unhappy in any way from their relationship, be a decent human being and just end it. Tell your significant other and work with them to improve your lives. If it doesn't work out, just end it amicably. Don't cheat. If you cheat, it's because you are morally and mentally weak and you are disgusting. I've been saying this since day one. Like, look, if you're going to cheat, if you're that unhappy, try to work it out. If it's beyond repair, then end it. And this goes for both men and women. Both ways. Every betrayed spouse should understand that. Sorry, by the way, for writing all over the place. I'm not a good writer. So that is it for his story here, his take on his situation. And again, this is unbelievably interesting situation. I'm so sorry it happened to all these guys out there, particularly servicemen that are there to defend us, both here and abroad, and put their lives at risk. And this is how they're treated. But the stereotype is just unbelievable. I mean, I can't tell you stories I've done both on this channel and especially the other channel. The guys send in, they're in the military, and they find out when they're deployed, their wives are cheating on them. And a lot of these guys sadly get married very early on, like literally right before boot camp or after before they're deployed for the first time. So they could be 19, 20 years old, sometimes 18, and nobody's ready for it. These gals aren't ready for it, especially nowadays when young gals in their 20s have the maturity level of a bunch of 13-year-olds, like what 13-year-olds were like when I was younger. And this stuff happens. And of course, it's now considered to be like empowerment if you're hooking up with every dude in town. Does this mean that all do this? No, but sadly, a lot do. And I've had dudes comment all over the world, thousands and thousands of comments in these videos I've done that say it's either happened to them or somebody they knew. So the moral of the story is, guys, amongst many other things, don't get married while you're in the military. Wait till you're out. And even then, nowadays, don't even honestly really think twice about getting married altogether. But you got to pay attention to the red flags, amongst many other things. But I wish this guy well and his whole squad. They're going to make it. These are tough mother effers. They're going to be okay. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Give this guy a shout out. Show him some love. He may never see this video. Who knows? But if he does, by you showing words of encouragement, it will definitely help this guy get through it. And also, guys, you come across a really good story like to share, by all means, email it to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Just give me some time to get to it, and I will. And also, if it's a story online, make sure you include the link. I can't do the story if I can't find it. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.